You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast at savage.love.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
So, I talked about COVID conspiracies at the top of last week's show, so I probably shouldn't talk about Michael Flynn, the former National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, who claimed on a QAnon conspiracy podcast last week that the CDC is secretly planning to vaccinate Trump voters by putting vaccines in salad dressings. Because we all watched the January 6th insurrection and thought, those people hate their country, but they sure do love their leafy greens. So I'm not going to talk about that. And I talked about Catholics at the top of the previous week's show, so I probably shouldn't talk about the Catholic priest who was arrested in Italy last week after spending $120,000 he stole from the church on drugs for the drug-fueled gay orgies he was hosting. That's how the paper described those orgies, drug-fueled, as opposed to all those gay orgies fueled by solar or wind or thermal or carbs. Anyway, this priest got caught importing a liter of GHB, the date rape drug, from the Netherlands. Edie Gourmet blamed it on the bossa nova. Father Spignazi blamed it on the cocaine vortex. The cocaine vortex swallowed me, Father Spignazi said in court. The drug made me betray my parishioners. So, for those of you keeping score at home, rape 100 kids, get transferred, steal 100K, get arrested. The Catholic Church, ladies and gentlemen, somehow still in business. But I'm not going to talk about that either. Maybe I'll talk about Marco Rubio instead, or his emails to me at any rate. I don't know how I got on Marco Rubio's fundraising email list, but his emails over 2 days, just 2 days, had me wondering whether Marco is okay. I'm just going to read the subject lines of the emails that came, again, over 2 days. Hey, friend. Hey, friend. Hey, friend, I'm begging. I'm begging, friend. I can't believe this. I'm begging, friend. I'm begging. Friend, I'm begging. Friend, I'm begging. Patriot, I'm begging. Friend, I'm begging. Patriot, I'm begging. You're forcing my hand, friend. Friend, I'm begging. Friend, I'm begging. Patriot, I'm begging. Jesus Christ, Marco Rubio spends more time on his knees than I do, or Father Spignazi does. Also, Marco Rubio is disintegrating. Has anyone else noticed this? Have you seen him lately? He used to be hot for a politician, which is a very low bar, but still. And now he looks like Vincent D'Onofrio at the end of the first Men in Black movie. Eating Trump's ass for 5 years is rotting Marco Rubio from the inside out. And it would be sad if he didn't deserve it, which he does. So, anyway, not going to talk about COVID conspiracy theories or Catholics or Marco Rubio, who is a Catholic. Instead, I'm going to talk about that receipt, the one that went viral over the weekend. Maybe you saw it on the Twitter. A credit card charge slip for dinner. Peaches tweeted it, and Peaches said of this receipt, "This is a real first date, y'all." And the amount? $741.53 for king crab legs, lobster mac and cheese, a giant ice cream sundae, $65, and a $380 gold leaf plated steak done medium. Apparently that's the specialty of the house at the Steak Market, a restaurant in Atlanta, where this first date took place. Now, people can spend their money however they like. Some people have too much money. Some people should be paying higher taxes. And some people who don't consider themselves sex workers sure do place a lot of importance on being bought things. Expensive meals, drinks, gifts by people who want to get in their pants. Which seems transactional to me, kind of sex work adjacent, but what do I know? Gay men and our first dates? Yeah, they look a little different. Terry and I had our first date, which was an impromptu affair, in a private toilet stall in a gay bar. The woman who posted this receipt got so much grief on Twitter that she did the only reasonable thing, the thing that everyone should do when they get grief on Twitter. She doubled down. She went back to that same restaurant and ordered another one of those goddamn $400 gold-plated steaks and put that up on Twitter too. Now, my only suggestion when I saw the original tweet that went completely viral, you know what I'm going to say. I hope they fucked first. But of course they didn't, because the kind of person who needs someone to spend nearly $1,000 on a first date to impress them, that isn't the kind of person who fucks you in advance of the first date. They want to see that charge slip. And they want to see that charge clear before they fuck you. So do the guy who fucked the woman, who had the gold-plated steak and the lobster mac and cheese and the $65 sundae. I hope that went well. I hope she'd explode after you slip the dick in, or suddenly empty your bowels or puke all that gold leaf-plated steak all over your lap. Unless you like that sort of thing, in which case, you got your money's worth. Good job. Job well done. Hope you enjoyed that date. All right, coming up on the Micro Savage Lovecast, tons of your Qs, lots of my As, and joining me on the Magnum, which you can subscribe to at savage.love, twice as much show, no ads, more guests, more calls. Adam Smith, author of Deep Sniff, A History of Poppers and Queer Futures, joins me to talk about poppers, gay men, our gay past, and our queer future. All that coming up on today's show. The Pill Club is a birth control subscription prescribed by a medical professional and delivered straight to your door for free. Go to thepillclub.com/savage. MeUndies makes feel-good underpants your butt will be proud to wear and you will be proud to be seen in. They will be the most comfortable pair of underwear you will ever own, and to check it out yourself, go to MeUndies.com/savage. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by OMGYes.com, a website devoted to women's pleasure. Check it out and get a discount when you go to OMGYes.com/savage.
Hi, Dad. Just calling in with a sex success story. So recently, I came out as non-binary and been doing more stuff with that. And I ended up getting myself a strap-on, and I am completely a bottom, and my husband will usually call me his good girl, and that really helps me come. But just recently, he went down on me, and, he's sucking my cock and telling me about how awesome it is, and, it just feels so great, and of course it feels great for me. And then, he threw me on my back, and then fucked me in the ass with my cock rubbing up against him, and came really hard, and told me, his good boy, to come really hard, and fuck, that orgasm was good.
Thanks for calling and sharing your wonderful success story. And congrats on having a partner who's not just down for probably the social dimensions of your non-binary identity, but also the potential for new kinds of sexual play and sexual connection, that he could go with you from good girl, and you hearing good girl and that making you come, to good boy. Awesome. Very sexy. Thank you for calling and sharing. We like to start each week's show with a listener's success story before we get to listener problems. If you have a success story you'd like to share, give us a buzz, share yours. We may start next week's Lovecast with your success.
Hey Dan, 39-year-old straight cis male from the Northeast here. I need your help on a family situation with my dad. There's almost too much background to provide since this has been going on in some form for 6 or 7 years. The short version is that my dad had an argument with my sister about basically nothing, something like 6 years ago. She was rude to him during the argument, and the takeaway is that he ended the argument by getting about a foot away from her face and screaming at her, which intimidated the hell out of her, as you can imagine. There was no physical violence, but I'm not sure my sister would have been totally confident of that in the moment. After that fight, my sister and my dad were never the same. My dad apologized, and they would still speak and see each other, but there was a wedge there. Fast forward to 2017, and my sister's getting married. The day of the wedding, the ceremony on the beach is beautiful. We all head inside to cocktail hour. Everyone's having a great time. My sister and I are making the rounds to everyone, including my dad, his family, and my cousins. An hour later, we all sit down to dinner, and in the middle of the meal, my dad, his sisters, and my cousins all get up and start to walk out. He'll tell you it's because it was a Sunday night and everyone had to get home, but my aunt telling me we know where we're not wanted gave their real plan away. They had taken my dad's side in this argument that had nothing to do with them and decided to inflict maximum pain on my sister. And it worked. My sister was mortified and ran away crying, which my dad and his family absolutely saw and continued walking out. This was him slamming his hand down on the self-destruct button on his relationship with my sister. Up until that point, I'd been an innocent bystander to all the drama, but once my dad effectively ruined my sister's wedding, I took a stand and cut him and his family and my cousins out of my life. Fast forward a bit more, and he and I now have a strained relationship. I eventually started talking to him again and asked him what he was thinking. He'll go on about how he felt excluded from the wedding and my sister didn't treat him right. And for some things I can squint my eyes and see what he's talking about. But overall, he went into the wedding expecting to be slighted and found the evidence he wanted in order to walk out. And not for nothing, you reap what you sow. He was the one that caused the rift in the first place. Is it really a surprise that she would want to keep him at a distance or not include him in ways that he thought were appropriate? And also, who the hell cares what he thinks is appropriate? This was my sister's wedding, the day every girl dreams about. Shouldn't she get to have the wedding she wants without someone else deciding they're the arbiter of what's right and wrong for her special day? Anyway, my dad is now asking to see my kids, who he hasn't seen in 4 years, and I told him no. The extent of our relationship right now, which is talking on the phone a few times a year, is all I really want. So here's my question. As an adult, do you owe your parents any kind of relationship? My dad will tell me, well, I was a great dad for your whole life, which is basically true, but he royally fucked up here, and he's never once tried to reach out to my sister or show any genuine remorse or understanding of how inappropriate his actions were. But even so, am I being an asshole by holding on to this hurt he caused my sister and not wanting him to have any significant role in my or my kids' lives? What do you think, Dan? Am I sticking my nose in where it doesn't belong, and I should just get over it and let my dad see his grandkids? Or am I well rid of this toxic relationship?
I kind of want to subpoena everybody and depose everybody and get to the bottom of this. What was the fight that your sister had with your dad? I can't imagine what your father did was in any way proportionate or appropriate. Staging that mass walkout at your sister's wedding to inflict maximum emotional devastation on that day at her wedding. Holy shit, what a fucking asshole move. But never letting your father meet his grandkids or see his grandkids ever again, also an asshole move. Is it proportionate? Is it justified? Is it called for? Well, it would help to know what exactly was going on earlier. Are you in one of those families where everyone just goes to, I can never remember if it's DEFCON 1 or DEFCON 5, but everyone goes to full-out emotional nuclear war whenever there's a conflict, and you're denying your father access to his grandkids or never allowing him to see his grandkids ever again? Is it appropriate, or is it retaliatory? Is it the return of that nuclear strike? I don't know. But if we just zoom out and take the issue of toxic parents, and your dad sounds pretty fucking toxic, that stunt was pretty fucking toxic. And that's a line you draw in the sand with family, where you say, the pleasure that inflicting this pain on you in a public way gives me at this moment is worth nuking our relationship for forever. Yeah, you make that kind of move, there are going to be consequences. To continue with the nuclear theme, there's going to be a lot of fallout that you should anticipate having to deal with. And part of the fallout of your dad's stunt, of the pain he inflicted on your sister, is that you have sided with your sister. And not only did he destroy his relationship with his daughter, he destroyed his relationship with his son. And good on you. I do think it's important that siblings stick together. It's especially important when siblings have toxic parents, and somehow the two of them together, maybe not were immune from the toxins, but managed to purge them over time and can still have that familial, close, tight sibling relationship while cutting the parents out, cutting out the toxins. So yeah, zooming out, do you have a right to cut off a toxic parent, never see that parent again, not invite that parent to birthday parties for their grandkids or your wedding or your kid's wedding? Absolutely. You know, a lot of people will say that's never okay, not okay forever, not okay to cut off a toxic parent. Those people probably don't have toxic parents in their own families or in other people's families that they've been close to, and they haven't seen the damage that kind of toxic parent can do and the wounds that can be ripped back open when you allow that kind of toxic parent back into your life, even in what seems like a very contained or small way, like coming to a wedding or coming to a kid's birthday party. So yeah, you sound like a sane and reasonable person. I'm going to defer to my perception of your sanity and reasonableness and tell you it is okay. If you think this is the best course of action to cut your father off forever and to limit your relationship to those few strained, polite phone calls a year, absolutely, I think that's the right thing to do. But still, on some level, I'm tempted. If I had subpoena power here at the Savage Lovecast, which some of you are lucky I don't, and I could depose people, which I can't, I would want to subpoena and depose all y'all. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by MeUndies. I have 5 words for you. Glow in the dark underpants. That should be enough. Add over, because glow in the dark underpants is the most alluring thing I have ever heard of or read or said into a microphone, and MeUndies has them. By now, you've heard the little purr in my voice when I talk about my MeUndies lounge pants. They are so comfortable, I live in them when I'm at home. And Nancy's family are all super into the boy shorts cut of underpants. But when they hear about the Halloween-themed underpants, it's going to be a feeding frenzy over at Nancy's place. MeUndies are sustainable and the softest undies and lounge pants and t-shirts and so much else in town. MeUndies are made from natural fiber sourced from beechwood trees, making their micromodal fabric soft, breathable, and dangerously cozy. They have 5 new Halloween prints this year. I See You, My Boo, Tricks and Treats, Lazy Bones, and Lazy Pumpkin, all available in undies, bralettes, socks, and loungewear. Love the loungewear. And they all come in sizes XS through 4XL. So you have a lot of options to consider. You have shopping to do. MeUndies has a great offer for my listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off and free shipping. MeUndies also has a promise. If you're not satisfied with any product for any reason, you can return your order for a full refund within 45 days. To get 15% off your first order, risk-free, free shipping, risk-free, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/savage. That's MeUndies.com/savage.
Hey Dan, 47-year-old cis male, straight, calling from Canada. I find myself recently separated from my partner of 10 years. Turns out she had an affair. I'm dealing with a lot of issues of trust and confidence. COVID, I have found really hard for the last year or two. I wish I could be phoning in with the COVID success story. I realize this is not a good relationship. If anything, I'm not in better shape than when I found her. Because God knows I've listened to your show for 10 years and read your column for 10 years. And I love the advice you've given in the past. So, I think I'm coming up with a roadmap. But at this point, I feel like to help my confidence, I just want to have sex without any kind of emotional attachment. And I don't know if that's just because I'm hurting right now, or if it's truly something about confidence. And I'm just wondering what your advice is. Should I wait till I'm a little more healed? Because this only happened 2 or 3 weeks ago. Or is this something I can explore that's still going to be safe for me and help build my confidence?
Thank you for calling. I'm so sorry that this happened. This was done. This was done to you. I'm so sorry that you're in a lot of pain right now. And I think it's important for me to just note that pain that you're in and how clearly that comes across in your call. Because I think sometimes when I talk about infidelity and cheating, and I suggest that people should be able to get past it, understand it differently, have different expectations about it. Cheating happens. I worry that sometimes I come across as glib about it, or that I'm eliding the pain that people feel when they are cheated on. It is incredibly painful to be cheated on, as is evident, as comes across in your call. And I'm aware of that. I'm cognizant of that. I recognize that. And caller, my heart goes out to you. I don't tell people that I think cheating is something that they should be able to get past or forgive or heal from or come back from, because I don't think it's painful or hard, but indeed it is painful. It is hard. And sometimes it's a long way back, whether the relationship survives it or not. And I recognize that. And I'm glad you called and asked this question of me when you're still obviously in so much pain. I think you need to give it some time. It's only been a couple of weeks. You're still really raw. You don't want to, if this is about recovering some sense of self-confidence, you don't want to set yourself up for failure. You don't want to go into a sexual encounter with someone where, of course, you're not going to dump all this on them, all of this pain on them in advance of that first sexual encounter, casual sexual encounter. And if something in the moment triggers you or makes you feel sad or throws you back into the moment and you just kind of melt down, well, that could set you back on the road to your healing and recovery from this. And it could set you back significantly and really deal an additional blow to your self-confidence. So I would urge you to give this at least another month or two to get through, to sit with your sadness, to eat that ice cream and go to the gym and unload on your friends and feel all the feelings and get yourself to a place where you can think about this and talk about this, think about what happened to you, what was done to you, what she did, without being overwhelmed by those feelings, because it might come up. You just physically, you might have a physical sense memory when you're having sex with somebody else for the first time that throws you back into sex you used to have with your partner. And you want to make sure, if that happens, that you're in a place where you can hold it together and you can feel the feeling and let it roll over you and roll out of you and then continue on with whatever it is that you're doing. And that is a skill that you develop. You know, sometimes those feelings of sadness about the end of a relationship, they roll over you when you're waiting for your food in a restaurant, or you're talking with a friend about something else, or you're on a bike ride. And right now, when those feelings come to you, you're probably overwhelmed. You get a little weepy. In a month or two, those feelings will come to you and you'll feel them and you'll mark them and you'll honor them and they'll pass without you melting or dissolving into the emotional state that you're in now while you're trying to talk with me about this, while you're recording your question. So give it a little time, give it a little extra time. Make sure you're extra ready when you do hook up with someone else casually for the first time. And it's likelier to go well. No guarantee that it will absolutely positively go well, but it's likelier to go well and have the effect on your confidence that you'd like it to have. And if it doesn't go well that first time, well, give yourself a fucking break. You've been through something really traumatic. Treat yourself with some grace and compassion as you work through this emotionally, as you work through it socially, as you work through it sexually. You may have setbacks, but that's okay. Everybody does, but you will get past this. And the evidence that you need that you can get past this, it's all around you. The world is full of people who had their hearts broken the way you just had your heart broken, who are now fine, functional, happy, content in new relationships, as you will one day be. So, while you weren't able to call me this week with a success story, I predict that in 6 months or a year, you will be. If you're on birth control, remembering to take your pill is already enough work, let alone going to the doctor to get a refill and picking it up from the pharmacy. Pill Club wants to take the work out of taking care of yourself. The Pill Club is a birth control subscription prescribed by a medical professional and delivered straight to your door for free in discreet packaging. The Pill Club carries over 120 FDA-approved brands. Most brands of birth control are free with insurance or Medicaid. Otherwise, prices start as low as $9 per month without insurance. What's more, the Pill Club's licensed medical team is just a text away to give you the best reproductive health care. So, skip the office visit and skip waiting in line at the pharmacy. Join the club. And right now, when you go to thepillclub.com/savage, the Pill Club is offering a $10 donation to bedsider.org for every Savage Lovecast listener who becomes a patient. Your donation will help low-income individuals get access to birth control through bedsider.org. That's thepillclub.com/savage to get your first birth control care package and to donate to help more women in need of affordable birth control. Remember, thepillclub.com/savage. Let them know the Lovecast sent you, thepillclub.com/savage. You must use the link to make a donation.
Hey, Dan. I have a question about getting over someone. I've heard you talk about just, don't look at social media, don't talk to them. My situation is I dated someone, they are non-binary, for about 10 years, and it didn't work out. The sex was terrible, but emotionally I've never connected with someone like that. I've been married since then. I've had a kid since then. I've dated since then. And I always go back to them, and I can't seem to move past that relationship. And I know that that person feels the same way, but we both gave it our all for 10 years, and it didn't work. And I don't know what to do. I recently texted with this person. I don't want to say that I'm different than anyone else, but I'm picky. I am different, and this person has made me happier than anyone. I never had strong family. I never had strong friends, and this person was, for all intents and purposes, my soulmate, and I can't seem to move past them, even though my life keeps moving forward, but I keep thinking of them.
Why can't this person you have this soulmate connection with be your best friend, your very intimate best friend, maybe even a bit of a romantic best friendship? Sounds like what didn't work, and the reason the relationship ended after 10 years was a buildup of sexual frustration. You say the sex was terrible, but everything else was great. The solution that we're told, that we're lied to and told, is the only available solution on the table is to end that relationship and go find somebody that you can feel as strongly about emotionally, feel that same strong emotional connection with, and have awesome sex with. And one person can't be all things to any one person. And it's possible that this person is out there and they're capable of being everything that you need a partner to be emotionally, intellectually, even romantically, but sexually, yeah, it's just not there. And maybe what this reestablished connection is telling you is that you need this person in your life, but you need to think differently about how you could structure your life in such a way that they could be a part of it and play an enormous role in your life, but not be your sexual romantic partner, but be your best fucking friend with whom you are tight in a way that you are tight with no one else. That may require, if you're still with the person that you had the kid with, still with the person you married, that may require you to renegotiate the terms of your marriage with the spouse you have now to make space for you to have what for some people would feel, for some people in your spouse's shoes, would feel like emotional infidelity. Now, there are people who want sexual monogamy, made monogamous commitments, and then renegotiated the terms of those commitments to allow for their partners that they wanted and expected and were told they would get monogamy from, renegotiated the terms so their partners could be sexual with other people. I think if people are capable of renegotiating terms around sex, that it stands to reason there's got to be some people out there who can renegotiate terms around emotional exclusivity or regarding certain kinds of intensities of connections as something that should exist only in the context of that romantic, committed, and sexual relationship. Maybe your spouse, if you still have one, can wrap their minds around you having that not with someone else instead, but with someone else also. Kind of like polyamory, but just for feelings. A conversation you could have with your spouse. You might want to spare your spouse from hearing that you regard this person that you were in a 10-year relationship with as your soulmate and ideal partner. But obviously, with the intensity of the feelings you have for this person, them exiting your life permanently and forever in the way that you both were convinced that they had to isn't optimal. Isn't making you happy. You want this person in your life. But your life right now, if you're still married, if you're going to make room in your life for this person, your spouse is also going to have to make room in their life because you're going to have to make room in your marriage for this other person. And to do that, you need your spouse's buy-in and your spouse's consent. I hear all the time from couples who want to improve their sex lives and spice things up. Interestingly, though, even many sex-positive people seldom seek out new knowledge about their or their partner's pleasure, which is a great way to spice things up. There's a cultural myth that when we become adults, we should suddenly know, or by that point know, particularly if we're partnered, we should know by then exactly what turns us on and how we like to be touched. A myth, another myth that runs strong, that needs to be taken down, is that good lovers should already know the right moves and be telepathic about what their partner wants. So many of us believe these myths and then fall into the trap of, it's good enough, why keep experimenting, why keep learning? OMGYes.com, oh my God, yes.com, reframes the topic in a new way by presenting us with brand new research findings that are food for thought. These are new findings backed by research, tapping into the lived experience and wisdom of thousands of people. These are lessons that none of us could have possibly known before or arrived at all on our own. OMGYes.com scientists partner with Indiana University and Yale University researchers to ask tens of thousands of people what they discover is most pleasurable for them. And then they do the work. They find the patterns and shared techniques, naming many for the first time, and they turn all that wisdom into disarmingly straightforward and honest videos, animations, and data visualizations. We've gotten 3 or 4 calls from people saying that they heard about OMGYes.com on this show and that it has really improved their sex lives. People love this service. They love the work that these researchers are doing and the way that they're presenting it at OMGYes.com. You should check it out. So, see how much there is to explore at OMGYes.com. Savage Lovecast listeners get a special discount at OMGYes.com/savage. That's OMGYes.com/savage.
Hey, Dan and crew, 44-year-old cis female, married for 10, partnered for 15 with my husband. We have a couple kids, 7 and 10. My partner has made a connection with another woman and wants to explore this. I am feeling unsure. I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable with this whole thing. I would prefer this being something that we explore and discuss together and make boundaries on together before there's somebody in the wings. And this person is very much in the wings and very much pursuing my husband. And he is really, really distracted by this. He's talking about how magical it is and how this never felt like this before, which is hard to hear from somebody you love deeply. And I want to be able to give him the things that he wants. And I want to be able to say yes to exploring this. And at the same time, I'm feeling pressure to say yes. And partly the time frame. She's traveling and back in a couple weeks, and then we'll be here for a short period of time. There's definitely some judgment on her end that I'm uncomfortable with around wanting my husband to be happy and express joy and express his sexual connections without boundaries. And I'm sort of yeah, well, he has responsibilities. You're a 25-year-old flighty, beautiful person. And I am the 44-year-old wife with kids and job and a business that we run together and building a house. And I'm for sure I can't be as flighty and carefree because I have responsibilities. And so that's really fucking hurting. I guess my question is how much should I be pushing my boundaries of feeling comfortable and letting him explore this relationship? And if there's a sexual boundary for me, and I don't totally know why that's maybe more threatening than just being able to touch or connect, and I don't totally know how to delineate where those boundaries are. And he's asked what can I, what could I do? Can I hold her hand? Can I, can we cuddle? Can we, what? He's just basically this freaking horse that I'm holding the reins back on, and he'll just wants to gallop away. And I'm finding it tricky to have a balanced conversation about this with somebody in the wings. So help.
This is a problem that couples who are contemplating open relationships invariably face. Couples with kids, couples who've been together a long time, couples who have responsibilities, household to run, kids to feed and bathe and get to bed, chores to do, roofs to repair, appliances to maintain, is that the other partners, the quote unquote, I'm going to use your word here, caller, playmate, represents joy and escape and is kind of, except for during sex, it's frictionless relationship. There's nothing that has to be negotiated or handled. And you, the spouse at home, you represent what? Chores and grind? And the only way to make sure that that feeling that, oh, this person represents to you joy and escape and pleasure and fun, and I'm chores and bath time and dishes and bills, is for the couple, the primary couple, the couple opening the relationship, to prioritize each other's not just emotional security, not just be honest and keep talking, but prioritize joy in that relationship too, so that you aren't to each other just the grind. You're also joy and escape and release and pleasure and fun. And that's something a couple has to really work on and be smart and conscientious and thoughtful about. And I worry that your husband isn't going to be capable of that because of some of the things he's said to you really do indicate that he doesn't have the emotional IQ or maturity or sensitivity required to make sure that you, the wife at home with the kids, when he's off with his 25-year-old piece on the side with his wife's permission, isn't stewing in resentment and hurt and anger and those things that he said to you. Oh my God, I've never felt this way about anyone before. This is magical. That may be true. You may feel that way as a married person in an open relationship about somebody else that you're able to see honestly without having to hide it or lie and run around because you have your partner's consent, your spouse's consent. That may be something that you feel. It's not something that you say out loud. Now, I'm sometimes criticized for suggesting to people that relationships aren't depositions, and there are sometimes truths you don't tell your partner that you protect them from. These are them. This is a good example of that kind of truth. He may be feeling this. What upside was there in telling you this? So that you feel even worse about this woman, feel even more insecure in your marriage and your relationship, more resentful about opening it? You can feel these feelings. You know, if you're in an open marriage and you're allowed to have a girlfriend or see somebody else on the side, get some dick elsewhere, you may have that kind of new relationship energy, the poly people call it, where you just feel infatuated and swept away, and you have to not actively lie about it, but yeah, you probably don't want to too actively truth about it either, lest you make your partner at home feel insecure and resentful and hurt and poison that relationship to such an extent that your open relationship is going to be high conflict and high drama and bad. Bad for you, bad for your spouse at home, bad for your kids if you have kids in the long run. And so, yeah, caller, you sound down to have an open relationship in theory, but it's not a theoretical open relationship you're contemplating having. You're thinking about having or opening a marriage with this guy in practice, this guy who doesn't have the sense, the emotional maturity, intelligence, empathy to know that he shouldn't have said this shit to you. And so I don't know how you feel safe in this relationship. I don't know how you feel safe in this marriage when he's already demonstrated before, presumably he touches this other woman, that he's not going to conduct himself in such a manner that you feel your feelings are being taken into consideration, that your feelings are being prioritized in the way they would need to be for your marriage to transition from closed and monogamous to open and non-monogamous and survive. He has to be careful with you. He has to demonstrate that you are still, and this marriage and this family are still his top priority, even if he's really excited about some other woman. And I'm angry. He's not my fucking husband, and I'm angry at him for not being able to do that, for not having the sense that God gave a box of M&Ms, and to know that you aren't his best friend, you aren't his confidant, you're his wife, you're his sex partner, he's your sex partner. And what he said is he can't prioritize your feelings. He can't even identify them, anticipate what they might be. How are you ever going to feel safe? Not just in an open relationship, married to that man, even in a closed relationship, married to that man. Maybe he's going to have a bit of a come springa and come to his senses and apologize to you after he runs off and fucks this woman, probably with your permission. And this will just be a dark period in your relationship. But it's hard not to see how a marriage, if this isn't uncharacteristic of him, this kind of behavior, this inability to anticipate how you might feel if he said X, how your marriage survives. I would advise you not to give him permission to fuck this woman. You have work to do. If the marriage is to survive, if that's what he wants, if this isn't him slamming his hand down on the self-destruct button and destroying your sense of safety and self-esteem in the process, you two need to sit down with a couples counselor who's pro-poly, pro-open, and pro-closed, and pro-monogamous, and that's what most pro-open, pro-poly couples counselors are. They're also for what works for an individual couple, not trying to talk all in couples into being non-monogamous, and talk through this and see if your husband can't repair the damage that he's already done to you. And if he can't repair the damage already done, don't open up. And if he's angry and resentful forever because you didn't feel safe in an open relationship with him, well, then you're obviously not safe in a closed relationship with him either. And you're going to have to think about ending it.
Hi, Dan. I am a cisgendered woman living in the Midwest. So I've been seeing this guy since my divorce about 4 years ago, and he's been divorced probably about, 15 years. We're both in our 60s, young 60s, and we've had a pretty intense relationship. The sex has been really great. There is a problem, though, as there always is. He, has this weird relationship with his adult kids where he's very protective of his time with them, and he's only just sort of let me begin hanging out with them a tiny bit, but he lives about 2 hours away. We don't see each other a lot, and he will, cancel things at the drop of the hat if his kids are around. He'll be late to do things with his kids and just put me off. But the real kind of seems like a deal breaker for me is I'm not included in major holidays like Christmas and New Year's. So it's true I'm not a skier, and they tend to go away and ski, but I feel very left out, and he's made it really clear that his kids are his first priority, and he is tired of being, hounded about it. And I don't hound him about it. I'm just really disappointed each holiday. And I feel like he's almost like gaslighting me, saying like, oh, you just want somebody who's going to be there all the time. And, I don't want a husband. I had a husband. I'm not interested in that. I just need to know that my person is there for me all the time. I like to feel included. And he's sort of let his daughter call the shots on this one. She's, as I said, an adult child. Either he lets her do this or he's just very protective of their quote-unquote special time. So, Dan, I actually did break up with a man about 2 months ago. It's been really difficult. I've tried to do this before. I keep wanting to go back to him, but I guess I just want somebody who's absolutely all in. So I guess the question is, am I throwing this away or am I standing my ground because, hey, who doesn't want to be included?
So you two were sexually compatible, but you weren't compatible on expectations around the relationship and what it meant and what he could give you or what he wouldn't give you. You say you don't want to be married again, but you want to have a person, you want your person, and you want both of you to be all in on that relationship, and you want to be included in all family functions. And he wasn't able to give you that. And it sounds like he was a little bit of an asshole about not giving you that, instead of making clear to you what he was up for, what he wanted, which was something more casual than what you wanted. And one of you was going to have to pay the price of admission if you wanted that relationship to go on. And it sounds like for most of the relationship, you were paying that price of admission. You were home alone for the holidays when you would have liked to have been included, and he was never going to include you. So yeah, as painful as it was to end this relationship, you were absolutely right to end it. It couldn't just be what he wanted on his terms anymore, because that was, for you, more painful than being alone and starting over and trying to seek a new sex partner, somebody else out there that you could have great sex with, who also wanted to be not just the person who circled back to you for some casual sex, not just your friend with benefits, not just your fuck buddy, but even if you didn't marry, you wanted that person to be your partner, your person. And you wanted that person, your person, to include you in the way a spouse could reasonably expect to be included. Be clear about that going forward. As painful as it is for you to end this relationship right now, was the right move. And I would encourage you not to go back to paying the price of admission that you had been paying. If anyone's going to pay a price of admission now to be in this relationship, for you to be happy in it, it's going to have to be him. He's going to have to change the way he relates to you. If he's capable of that, maybe you could get back together again. But be clear and be firm. Getting back together means I'm your person, you're my person, I'm included. He can't do that. And he's already kind of demonstrated to you and proven that even if he could, he doesn't want to. But if he can't, yeah, it's going to have to be somebody else. You're going to have to find somebody else. I think you should get on top of that. Don't wait for him to come around. Don't wait for him to call you and reopen negotiations. If he calls you, if he circles back, if he wants to get back together, okay, you can maybe get back together with him, but you're going to want to move on with your life now, not sit at home alone with your phone in your hand hoping he calls. If you're seeing somebody else and you're happy and he calls, yeah, you can tell him to fuck off. If he calls in a year and he's willing to give you what you want, what you need in a relationship, and you're not happy with the person you're seeing then, or you're still single then, well, then maybe you could give him another chance. All right, before we get to listener response calls, let's read some of those listener tweets we love so much. Emily Ann tweets, I've never willingly Googled a Breitbart article before, article in scare quotes, but after listening to @FakeDanSavage's opening rant on the Savage Lovecast this week, I had to read that for myself to see if I could follow the logic. Nope. Yeah, the logic was a little twisty and hard to follow. Basically, Breitbart is arguing that progressives and liberals are trying to trick Trump voters into not getting vaccinated by pretending that we want them to get vaccinated, which we don't, because we want them to die and not be able to vote for Trump ever again. Which left me wondering this week where Breitbart was after Tucker Carlson went on Fox and told his viewers that true patriots and men with high testosterone do not get vaccinated. Apparently, Tucker Carlson himself is in on this conspiracy to get Trump voters killed. Kendra Holliday tweets, today's Savage Lovecast 778 features Lee Cowart, author of Hurt So Good, The Science and Culture of Pain on Purpose. The discussion reminded me of the concept of benign masochism, a term coined by Paul Rosen, PhD, where people seek out safe threats. And finally, Pendotchka tweets, I had one bite of camembert cheese and immediately thought of the Savage Lovecast episode where Dan talked about this cheese tasting exactly like his ex-boyfriend's jizz. I immediately threw it in the trash. Thank you for ruining my day, Dan. Sorry about ruining your day, Pendotchka. But it was my cum, not my boyfriend's cum, that tasted exactly like camembert cheese and still does, just for the record. Not sure that would have made any difference for you in that moment with that camembert that you were trying to enjoy. Just in case it would help to think tastes like Dan's cum, thought I'd share. All right, thanks to everyone who tweeted or posted to social media about the show last week. We really appreciate it. It helps spread the word about the show. And if you want me to potentially read your tweet on an upcoming episode of the Savage Lovecast, be sure to use the hashtag Savage Lovecast. And now, listener response calls.
Hi, Dan. This is for episode 778, the guy who is dating a white woman who dreads her hair, and he's wondering if it's a deal breaker. Recently, I purchased a red baseball cap with the word vaccinated on the front of it, and I actually wrote vaccinated on the back of it because I don't think any particular group should own the look of the red baseball cap. That said, I wore it once outside at my apartment pool, and judging by the look of a woman across the pool from where I was, and who cannot read the word vaccinated, it was far too traumatizing for people to see. And I put that hat back in my closet. I have no desire to add to any anger or ugliness in the world. And I hope eventually people can wear red baseball caps without it causing an aneurysm.
Hey, so for the person on episode 778 wondering what erotic stories they might be into, the absolute best way to figure this out is fanfiction. Go to archiveofourown.org, pick a hot character from your favorite TV show or movie, and read hundreds of stories about them doing all kinds of fascinating stuff. The advantages? Everything is free, and almost everything is tagged for what's in the stories, so it's really easy to find more of what you want and avoid what you don't. It's amazing. Check it out.
Hi, Dan. Magnum subscriber, longtime listener, with a response call for the couple with the toilet paper issue. My first thought was, why can't he take a couple of rolls of his preferred toilet paper from his place and leave them at her place? Problem solved. Then she doesn't have to go against her moral compass and support a company who does not produce sustainable products. Problem solved. Win-win.
And we're going to leave it there. Got a question for me or a comment about this week's show? There are two ways to get into us. You can call us at 206-302-2064, or you can use the voice memo app on your phone to record your question or your comment and email it to us at voicemail@savagelovecast.com. My new book, Savage Love from A to Z, is out now everywhere books are sold. And Portland, I'll be at Mississippi Studios this Saturday, October 2nd at 1 p.m. to celebrate the publication of this book, to reminisce about the last 30 years of Savage Love, and to read a couple of excerpts. Your admission price includes a copy of the book, and I'll be signing them after the show. Go to savage.love/events for tickets. Hey, Portland, that's not all. I'll also be hosting Hump at Revolution Hall this Friday, October 1st. The 9 p.m. show is sold out, but there are still a few tickets left for the 6:30 p.m. show, so grab them while they're still grabbable. At Columbus, Hump is also screening this weekend in your neck of the woods at Gateway Film Center. Go to humpfilmfest.com for tickets, and go to humpfilmfest.com/submit to find out how you can make an amateur porn film for our 2022 edition of Hump. Follow me on Twitter at FakeDanSavage. Follow Adam Smith on Twitter at Adam Smith. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Artunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth and Nancy. We will all be back at you next week for an installment of the Savage Lovecast. Thank you for downloading.